This is Pivot Perspectives with Chris O'Byrne, the show that takes you around the world to share interviews with some of the most successful and relevant people on the planet. Hear their stories and get the most important business lessons they've learned on their road to success, and get exclusive access on how to implement their success into your life and business. Pivot Perspectives is brought to you by the Strategic Advisor Board and your host, Chris O'Byrne.
Sharon Lechter, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Chris. I'm delighted to be with you.
Thank you. I like to go back kind of to the very beginning. And what is something from childhood that has helped shape who you become today?
Well, a couple different things. I was blessed by growing up in a home where my parents talked about money and assets. And I didn't realize that that was an unusual upbringing until I got out into the real world. And every night my dad would ask me, Sharon, have you added value to someone's life today? And that's something, he's been gone for 17 years, but I still ask myself that every single night.
Oh, that's really stuck. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, especially considering your career path. So did you start out not simply, but simply working as a CPA?
Well, I'll give you the Cliff Notes version. We were in a very lower middle class home. We lived in a little tiny house between my dad's used car lot and my mom's beauty shop. I was embarrassed by where we lived. My parents, either one had high school diplomas. My dad ended up running the engineering school for the Navy, so he was brilliant, self-taught. But my friends' parents were CEOs and military officers. And so it's like I always said, I want to be a sophisticated professional. I wanted to have their titles. And so I was first generation to go to college, got my degree in accounting, one of the only women in my classes, and immediately was one of the very first women hired in big 8 public accounting firms back then. And so I made it. I did exactly what I wanted to be, a sophisticated professional. And I was very successful going through the ranks. But about the ripe old age of 25, I realized that I wasn't in control of my life. I was working incredibly long hours. And all of a sudden, my parents started looking a whole lot smarter because my parents had rental properties that I had to go scrub out bathrooms between tenants. So I say I've been a real estate investor since the age of 10. He owned orange groves because the cash flow came in from the oranges every year. And some of those orange groves are now where SeaWorld is in Florida. So multiple businesses, multiple streams of income. And when I got into the real world, I realized that truly is a pathway, is to buy, build, and create assets. My favorite word on earth is assets. And so at 25, I had the opportunity to leave public accounting and go with a client he was purchasing the company out of bankruptcy. And it was like I went back to my condo and did the old pros and cons, because this was before PCs or cell phones. And it didn't help me a bit because I could argue both sides. I was very successful in public accounting, and yet I had this opportunity. My hand took off across the top of the page and said, why not? And that's still my mantra today, many, many years later. Why not do something different? Why not take that path less traveled? Why not solve a problem or serve a need? And we certainly have a lot of problems and needs. So the most successful businesses solves problems and serve needs. And so I decided to become an entrepreneur, and I've never looked back.
So what caused you to pivot into writing and becoming a financial literacy expert?
Well, that was kind of evolved as well. I remember my 8th grade English teacher told me I'd be a famous writer, and I thought she was crazy because I was all about math and numbers. My college house mother in my sorority told me I'd be on stage and a speaker, and I thought she was crazy. But I started helping write manuals when I was actually in public accounting. And then I was a volunteer for the American Cancer Society because my mom had suffered from breast cancer. And I helped them write some training manuals. And so I just kind of got the bug. And then my husband is an intellectual property attorney, and he wrote a book first. Now, when I was in 1987, I helped build the first talking children's book company. books that had the sound strips down the side, and I helped
Yeah.
take that. So in 1987, kids didn't have any kind of technology, no screen time. It's hard to believe, dinosaur days, but we had this great opportunity to help kids get excited about reading again. And so they didn't know us. We were a little company. And so we did deals with little companies like Disney, Warner Brothers, Sesame Street, and that helped us explode around the world. And as part of that process, I wrote some of the books that we used in that series. But it was not until I helped my husband do some writing for the book he was doing, and then Rich Dad Poor Dad actually was the first book that I authored that was a adult book, and that was the beginning of 28 books now, 15 in the Rich Dad series, and multiple ones with Napoleon Hill Foundation, the last few that I've issued. And it was really understanding that there was a message that people needed to have the tools to understand money, because we're not teaching kids about money in school. And so my mission has always been to elevate the financial well-being of humanity and providing the tools cost effectively that can help people learn about money and learn how to go from bad debt to good debt, learn how to start buying, building, creating income producing assets. Because, at the end of the day, it's not what you do for your paycheck that determines your financial future. It is what you do with your paycheck that determines your financial future.
Did you help write the book with Tom Wheelwright?
Pardon me?
Did you help write the book with Tom Wheelwright?
Oh, Tom Wheelwright. No, his book was much later. I wrote 15 books in the Rich Dad series, and I created the Rich Dad Advisor series. And one of the later books that came out was Tom's. Yeah.
Okay. That's one I especially enjoyed. Now I knew about the Rich Dad books, but I didn't know about the Napoleon Hill books until I did a little more research. So how did that come about?
Well, I love that question. We were, I was Robert's partner, and we were partners for 10 years. We wrote the 15 books together. I was also the CEO of the company, and my experience during the talking book industry help us explode Rich Dad as well through licensing and around the country. So we ended up in 110 countries, 51 languages. And in 2007, our 10 years together, he wanted to go into franchising. It was a business model that I didn't necessarily agree with. And so I made the decision to leave Rich Dad. And I tell people all the time, sometimes you have to close one door for other doors of opportunity to open. I did not know what was in front of me. We were at the height of our success, millions of dollars every month. But I knew I had to leave because it was no longer aligned with my personal mission. And so I made that decision, not knowing what was in front of me. And about 4 or 5 months later, I got a phone call from President Bush asking me to be on the first President Advisory Council for Financial Literacy, which was a huge honor. And I served both President Bush and President Obama. I wouldn't have had that call had I still been a Rich Dad. And in March of 2008, what was happening to the economy, Don Green, who's the executive director of the Napoleon Hill Foundation, reached out to me because we knew each other because we're in the same industry, and he had learned that I had left Rich Dad. And he asked me to step in and help reinvigorate the teachings of Napoleon Hill because of what was happening in the economy. Because many people didn't know Napoleon Hill, didn't know Think and Grow Rich. They know the results of his work. Pay yourself first, the concept of mastermind, the concept of the law of attraction, but they didn't know it was from him. And so I just had an incredible opportunity. I certainly wouldn't have had that call if I'd still been at Rich Dad. So I had an opportunity to step in and reinvigorate his teachings, wrote 3 Feet from Gold, was able to bring out Outwitting the Devil that had been hidden away for 73 years. Think and Grow Rich for Women, and Success in Something Greater in cooperation with the Napoleon Hill Foundation. It was an incredible relationship. I'm very proud of it.
Yeah, love those books. I have several of those, so it's good to know where they came from. So financial literacy, how would you describe or explain what that actually is?
Well, I love that question because we think about literacy and reading. Well, also, you need to know your numbers. You need to understand what the numbers mean. We need to understand the difference between good debt and bad debt. We need to understand the fact that people are taught to go to school, get a good job, and work hard and get a paycheck. And if you need more money, work overtime or get a second job. It's like, no, let's think about how else we can generate money. Let's create a business. Let's do something on the side that becomes an asset. And again, my favorite word on earth is asset. I tell everybody assets are sexy because every wealthy person in the world, no matter what their address is, no matter what language they speak, they have multiple streams of income from assets. And financial freedom, the definition of financial freedom is when the income from your assets exceeds your monthly expenses. It does not have to be millions of dollars. That was the message I really wanted to get out with Rich Dad Poor Dad. When I met Robert, he lived in a 2-bedroom condo with his wife, and they had 2 small apartment complexes. They were making $100,000 of passive income a year, and their expenses were $35,000 to $40,000. They were financially free. And so people think to be financially free, I have to have millions. No, you need to have assets generate income that covers your monthly expenses, and then you are financially free. And that message is so important. And so many people work that they are their only asset. If you don't get out of bed and go to work, you don't get paid. And that's what I want to break. I want to say there's nothing wrong with being an employee. But understand it's not what you do for your paycheck that determines your financial future. It's what you do with your paycheck. So you have a choice. Are you going to be a consumer so that money comes in and it goes right out the door? Or are you going to be an owner, meaning you're taking the money that comes in and reinvesting it in buying, building, and creating income-producing assets?
So if someone wants to improve their financial literacy, what do you guide them as a beginning? Where do they get started?
Well, the first step is to figure out where you are financially. And even if the picture is bleak, you're going to feel empowered because you've taken that step. Because we don't teach people about money. There's a lot of fear and emotion around money. And we grow up in families that say we can't afford it, pinch your penny, save for a rainy day. All those things are negative comments. So you grow up hearing money negative, money negative, money negative. No wonder we develop a scarcity mindset. And so the first step is to identify your mindset. Think about how your parents felt about money. And then once you identify that you have that scarcity thinking, it's in your subconscious. And so you have to address it so you can release it and create a mindset of abundance. Because even when you become successful, if you still have that scarcity mindset, you're going to be afraid you're going to lose it. And you're going to be focused on the negative side. So that first thing is to get that and understand where you are financially and start taking little steps towards improving your financial situation.
You have any books or courses that you recommend people take?
Well, absolutely. You can come to SharonLechter.com. I have a weekly newsletter. I have a financial literacy program for people that's very, just reach out to us and we'll give you a discount on it. But it really takes you from being financially distressed to being financially confident. And it's so important to find someone who has been there, done that has the education. There's a lot of people out there selling things, but make sure you have somebody that has experience and the opportunity to help you see what you can do one step at a time. Because not everybody's correct. Not everybody's going to want to start a whole new business, but there's other ways to start investing a little bit at a time, investing in the stock market or in real estate and start building that asset base.
So tell me a little more about your master mentor program, and specifically, how does that change somebody's life?
Well, thank you for that, Chris. Well, First, I'm going to share that in 2012, I lost my youngest son, and it was devastating. I almost retired because I didn't have any highs, lots of lows, and got a lot of pushback from family and friends when I was thinking about retiring, and even heard my son in my ear say, "Get over it, Mom. There's more for you to do." And as part of me playing big again, I have a Play Big movement as a private Facebook group, because I said, whatever I'm going to do, I want to share so other people that have been stopped in their tracks, because a lot of people have been stopped in their tracks. And you can either get paralyzed or you can find a way to motivate yourself. And so as I started playing big again and looking for ways to help other people, the Master Mentor Program was formed, and I have people that come to me for the year and multiple years where I really step into their world. It's not a program I'm selling. Every Master Mentors program is unique to them based on where they are, where they want to go, what their vision is. And we support them in understanding the pathway to get there more quickly and how to steer around the pitfalls. And we have retreats at our ranch here in Arizona a couple times a year. We bring our mentoring clients together. And it's really important to understand that, one size does not fit all. Somebody may have a $10 million business. They're trying to get to 50 million. Somebody else may have $1 million idea. They're trying to bring it to fruition. So the pathway is different for every individual. And it's important to have somebody that can help you identify that and guide you and not try and put you into the same cookie cutter format that's offered a lot.
So who have been some of your mentors along the way?
Oh, I've had many mentors. Of course, Napoleon Hill would be a really strong one. My father was the best mentor I could ever have had, opening my eyes and instilling in me the thought process that I could do anything I wanted to do if I just put in the effort. And Sandra Day O'Connor was a huge mentor of mine, and just really sad with the loss of her recently. But what an incredible icon she is. Barbara Barrett, who is a dear friend of mine, and she's been a mentor, just watching her grace. And multiples others. I mean, you can have a mentor from history, you can have a mentor who's written books, or you can have a mentor that sits across the table from you. But it's important to understand to continue learning and be a lifelong learner.
Are you currently working on another book by any chance?
Well, I just released, I don't have one right here in front of me, a book called How Money Works for Women that I'm very excited about. It's within the last few months, and it is a very easy to read. It's almost like a graphic novel, 4-color format. And we have women that we use as examples from every decade of life, from 19 to 86, and about the various financial situations that we face as women along the way. Some are faced by men and women, like college education, planning for a wedding, starting a business. And there's one where a woman has a child and is a special needs child, so she has to redefine her world and find the resources to help her. Another one is a woman who was married and ended up having to leave an abusive marriage with children and start all over, the kind of resources that are there to support you in doing that. Another gal is been married for 25 years, looking forward to retirement, and her husband comes home and wants a divorce. And she has not established credit in her own name. He handled all the finances. And this happens so much. It just tears my heart out to see what happens to women who allow themselves not to be involved in the finances of their life. And so how we can prevent that, how to establish the credit and the resources. And so all of these things are, another woman finds her adult son moving home, and her father has to move in because he needs hands-on care. And so she's in that sandwich generation. All these issues are real issues that face us. And we talk about the resources that are available, the steps you can take, and the things you can do to not just survive it, but not be traumatized by it, and how to make it work for you.
Are you still doing public speaking?
Yes, I am.
So
Yes.
where can
Several
people
times,
go?
several times a month. I love it. So
Oh, good, good. So if somebody wants to, like, what are some of the venues you have coming up that if somebody wants to uh,
absolutely.
come see
Yeah.
you?
Well, let's see. I'm at the end of this month. I'm going to be in Dallas at a WIN event with Bill Walsh. I have a trip to the country of Colombia that I'm teaching a group of women entrepreneurs there. I have a cruise, a family cruise that I'm doing in January out of Tampa, Florida. Those kinds of events are things that are, I think, open to the public. I also speak regularly. At the end of this month, I'm speaking at a book awards program and receiving an award. So just stay. If you go to my website sharonlechter.com, you can sign up for my newsletter. It's free. I give content every single week, and the events that I'm going to be participating in are usually included in my newsletters as well, so people can
Perfect.
stay on top of it.
So what is next for Sharon Lechter?
Well, I'm also driving an International Women's Summit that's going to be in July through with real success out of South Africa. So we'll have thousands of women online and incredible speakers at that. And so what's next? I have a book I've been working on for several years. It's more kind of a philosophy book on my life. And it's right now the working title is Living in Grace, Understanding the Power of confronting obstacles with grace and compassion. So it's kind of a passion project of mine, and I'm hoping I'll finish that sometime this year. But I'm very much promoting the How Money Works for Women book. And then right before that, I released the book called Exit Rich, which is with Inc. magazine. Yeah, it happens to be copied right
I
here.
saw that one.
And this one talks about how to build a business, to have a successful business that you can make sustainable and scalable and saleable, and the foundational elements that you need to look at. Because a lot of people build a job, not a business. So you have to go back
Yes.
to the beginning and build the foundation. And we talk about the 6 P's of building a business, which is, your the products, of course, but the people. Let's start with the people. Who's on your team? Or do you have people on your team who are strong where you're weak? Do you have the right mentors? Do you have the right people in the right seats? So many times we try to do everything ourselves. And then your products, can you leverage your products into different verticals? And then processes, business systems. That's really how you scale a business. So many times we try and manage people. Let's create the systems and manage the systems is a lot easier, a lot less fewer personality problems. And then your proprietary, which is your intellectual property, understanding the intellectual property that you've built and that you can create, identifying it, protecting it, and leveraging it. And then patrons, of course, your database. Many people don't understand your database. So many times businesses are sold simply for their database. Huge value proposition. And a lot of businesses out there, Chris, are focused on social media presence. They want to get, a million followers, and that's great, but that's lead generation because you don't own those names. Many people have found out the hard way that they get turned off by Facebook and all of a sudden they've lost contact. So yes, be out there in social media and nurture your audience, but invite them home to your database, because your database is yours and that's tremendous value added to your business. And then the last P is profits. So most people focus on products and profits, but really if the profits aren't where you want them to be, it's because one of those other P's is out of whack. And so you really need to look at the whole foundational element of the business. And the book really goes through all of that. So whether you're a business owner or you're thinking about buying a business, it's a great tool to prepare yourself for either purchase or sale of a business.
Do you have it in an audiobook format?
Yes.
Perfect, because I'm heading on a road trip tomorrow. So I think that'll be perfect.
Yeah.
So what parting words of wisdom do you have for us?
You are perfect just the way you are. God created you to be you, not someone else. You are the CEO of your life. Don't forget that. And so whatever's happened, we are where we are today because of the choices we made before today. If you want something different, something more, start making different choices because you have the opportunity to support and choose and do anything you want to. Remember to solve a problem, serve a need, and have those mentors. A true mentor is going to lift you up to a level of great potential and open doors for you, create associations. And then I like to end with my personal success equation. It's P plus T is your passion and your talent. Now, passion, do what you love what you do. Well, my passion came from anger that we weren't teaching kids about money in school. My talent, years as a CPA, years in publishing, and I combine those. And most of us stop there thinking we have to do everything on our own. But true success comes from times A, power of association. Who do you have around you? Who's on your team? Who's your mentor? Who are your advisors? Times A, taking action. How many times do we know what we're supposed to do? We just don't do it. And then all of it encompassed with a plus F, and that's faith. Faith in yourself, faith in what you're doing, faith that it's needed and necessary, and faith that you will succeed. And when I start working with mentoring clients, Chris, I go through that formula because it's usually the power of association that they need work on and their self-confidence, the faith. And they go hand in hand because when everybody has a bad day, but when you have a bad day, the right people on your team, the right people around you, they're not going to let you stay there. They're going to lift you back up. And entrepreneurship can be a very lonely environment. So you need to make sure you have peers and mentors that are there to support you. And that was a very long response to your question. But
that was a perfect response and very empowering. Thank you for that. And thank you for coming on the show today.
It is my pleasure, Chris. Thank you for doing this. It's wonderful. I look forward to getting to know you even better.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Pivot Perspectives with your host, Chris O'Byrne. Please leave your feedback and visit strategicadvisorboard.com to get the latest and greatest business advice on the planet. Follow us on social media for updates, and we will see you on the next episode.